studying your last two. I swim with tea when they turned in. The staring down to mute and can learn the pole that some kid died.
One of the most common debates in compensation planning revolves around CPP and RRSP participation. Should a business owner pay themselves enough salary to maximize CPP benefits? Should they create RRSP contribution room? Or should they focus on accumulating investments inside the corporation instead? The answer may surprise many people. There is no universal answer. And that is the central lesson of this slide. At the center of the slide, we see a business owner standing at a crossroads. One path leads toward CPP and RRSP participation. The other path leads toward corporate investing. Standing beside the owner is an advisor holding a comparison report. This visual represents the advisor's true role, not deciding for the client, but helping the client understand the trade-offs associated with each path, because both approaches can be valid, and both approaches can be successful. The best choice depends on the client's preferences, goals, and retirement philosophy. Let's begin with the left side of the slide. This represents clients who value CPP and RRSP participation. These clients often appreciate structure in their retirement planning. They like the idea of building future CPP benefits. They value creating RRSP contribution room, and they often view these programs as important components of their long-term retirement strategy. One of the benefits frequently mentioned is future CPP income. CPP provides a predictable source of retirement income and can create an additional layer of financial security. Another benefit is RRSP contribution room. By receiving salary, the client creates opportunities to make tax-deferred RRSP contributions and build retirement assets over time. Many clients also appreciate the discipline that comes with these programs. Contributions occur consistently, helping them build retirement savings in a structured manner. Now let's look at the right side of the slide. This represents clients who prefer corporate investing. These individuals often place a higher value on flexibility and control. Rather than directing funds toward CPP contributions or RRSP accounts, they may prefer leaving capital inside the corporation and investing it there. One benefit often mentioned is greater investment control. The client decides how assets are invested and managed. Another benefit is corporate flexibility. Funds remain within the corporation and can often be used in different ways depending on future opportunities and needs. Some clients also appreciate the potential for tax deferral and long-term asset accumulation within the corporate structure. The important point is that neither side is automatically correct. Notice the large statement in the center of the slide. There is no universal answer. This is perhaps the most important lesson in the entire discussion. Many business owners ask advisors, which approach is best? But that question is often incomplete. The better question is, which approach is best for this client? Because the answer depends on the individual's goals, comfort level, retirement philosophy, and planning preferences. At the bottom of the slide, we see the planning flow. Client preference leads to compensation strategy, and compensation strategy influences long-term outcomes. This sequence reminds us that planning should begin with understanding the client, not with choosing a strategy. The quote at the top summarizes the lesson perfectly. The best strategy depends on the client's retirement philosophy. Some clients value CPP and RRSP participation. Others prefer corporate investing, and many choose a combination of both. The advisor's role is not to impose a preference. The advisor's role is to explain the alternatives, model the outcomes, and help the client make an informed decision. The key takeaway from this slide is simple. CPP and RRSP preferences matter. Because compensation planning is not just about taxes. It is also about how the client wants to build retirement wealth. And understanding those preferences is essential for creating a strategy that the client can confidently follow over the long term. One of the most important lessons in compensation planning is that different clients think about retirement in very different ways. Some clients prefer structure and predictability. Others prefer flexibility and control. Neither approach is automatically right or wrong. They are simply different ways of thinking about retirement planning. And those differences often influence compensation decisions. That is the central message of this slide. Let's begin with client A on the left side. This client prefers structure. They like having a clear retirement framework. They appreciate programs that provide predictable benefits and established rules. For this client, CPP and RRSPs may feel comfortable because they fit naturally with their planning style. Notice the elements shown beside client A: a CPP benefit statement, an RRSP account, and a structured retirement plan. These visuals represent the tools this client may value most. The mindset section helps us understand why. This client likes predictability. They appreciate knowing that retirement income sources are being built systematically over time. They value CPP benefits because CPP provides a future stream of retirement income that is not dependent on day-to-day investment decisions. They want RRSP growth because RRSPs offer tax-deferred accumulation and a familiar retirement planning structure. And they are generally comfortable making ongoing contributions in exchange for future benefits. For this client, retirement planning often feels most comfortable when there is a clear system in place. Now let's compare that with client B on the right side of the slide. This client prefers flexibility. Rather than relying heavily on CPP and RRSP structures, they may prefer maintaining greater control over their retirement assets. Notice the visuals on this side: corporate investment portfolios, investment dashboards, business assets. These represent a different philosophy toward retirement planning. This client wants investment control. They prefer making decisions about where and how money is invested. They may favor corporate investing because it allows them to accumulate and manage wealth within the corporation. They value flexibility because they want the freedom to adapt to changing opportunities and circumstances. And they are generally comfortable taking a more active role in managing investments. For this client, retirement planning often focuses on building wealth and maintaining control rather than following a highly structured system. At the center of the slide, we see a balance scale. One side represents structure and stability. The other side represents flexibility and control. The scale is intentionally balanced. This is important. The slide is not suggesting that one philosophy is superior to the other. Instead, it demonstrates that both approaches can be valid depending on the client's preferences. The question in the center asks, what kind of retirement planner are you? This is exactly the question advisors should explore with clients. Because retirement planning is not only about numbers. It is also about behavior, comfort, preferences, and personal values. Notice the statement beneath the scale. Your preferences shape your plan, and your plan shapes your future. This captures the essence of compensation planning. The strategy should reflect the client's preferences because clients are more likely to follow plans that align with how they naturally think about money and retirement. At the bottom of the slide, we see an important reminder. Neither approach is automatically right or wrong. This statement reflects one of the most important principles in advisory work. The advisor's role is not to decide which philosophy is correct. The advisor's role is to understand the client's preferences, explain the available options, and help build a strategy that aligns with those preferences. The quote at the bottom summarizes the lesson perfectly. Different preferences create different planning strategies. That is why compensation planning cannot be reduced to a formula. Two clients with identical incomes may choose completely different compensation structures because they have different retirement philosophies. And both decisions may be entirely reasonable. The key takeaway from this slide is simple. Before recommending a compensation strategy, understand how the client thinks about retirement. Do they value structure? Do they value flexibility? Do they prefer guaranteed programs or personal control? Because the most successful compensation strategies are the ones that align with the client's retirement philosophy and long-term goals. And when the strategy fits the client, the likelihood of long-term success increases dramatically. This final slide brings together the most important lesson of this section. The best compensation strategy is the one the client will actually follow. That may sound simple, but it is one of the most important principles in professional planning. Many advisors spend significant time analyzing tax rates, compensation structures, and retirement projections. All of that analysis is valuable. But even the most technically perfect strategy can fail if it does not align with the client's preferences. That is why understanding the client comes first. At the center of this slide, we see the complete planning workflow. The process begins with a client preference assessment. Before discussing salary, dividends, CPP, or RRSPs, the advisor first seeks to understand what matters most to the client. This includes their preferences regarding CPP benefits, their interest in creating RRSP contribution room, their retirement goals, their investment experience, their risk tolerance, and their income needs. These factors help define how the client thinks about retirement and wealth building. Once those preferences are understood, the advisor moves to the next stage, building scenarios. This is where different compensation approaches are modeled and compared. Rather than assuming one solution is best, multiple options are explored. The third step is comparing outcomes. The advisor evaluates the long-term consequences of each strategy. What are the tax implications? How do retirement benefits differ? What level of flexibility does each option provide? And how well does each strategy support the client's goals? Next comes reviewing trade-offs. Because every compensation strategy involves advantages and disadvantages. Some strategies create more CPP benefits. Others provide more flexibility. Some create RRSP room. Others support greater corporate investment growth. The advisor's role is to help the client understand these trade-offs clearly. Only after this analysis is complete does the advisor make a final recommendation. And that recommendation should align with the client's values, goals, and comfort level. In the center of the slide, we see 3 example compensation scenarios. Scenario A focuses on a higher salary approach. This creates more CPP contributions, more CPP benefits, and more RRSP contribution room. This type of strategy may appeal to clients who value structure and predictable retirement planning. Scenario B focuses on higher dividends. This reduces CPP participation and emphasizes corporate investing. It may appeal to clients who value flexibility and investment control. Scenario C uses a hybrid approach. It combines elements of both strategies, providing a balance between CPP participation, RRSP opportunities, and corporate investing flexibility. This illustrates an important reality. There is rarely only one option. Good advisors help clients understand several alternatives before choosing a direction. On the right side of the slide, we see key questions every advisor should ask. Do you value CPP benefits? Do you want our RRSP contribution room? Do you prefer corporate investing? How involved do you want to be in managing investments? What retirement income do you expect to need? These questions help uncover the preferences that drive successful planning decisions. At the bottom of the slide, we compare two approaches. The first ignores client preferences. This often results in generic planning, poor alignment, and lower satisfaction. Even if the strategy is technically sound, the client may not feel comfortable following it over the long term. The second approach begins by understanding client preferences. This leads to personalized planning, better alignment, and stronger long-term results. The strategy fits the client because it was built around what matters most to them. The statement at the bottom summarizes the entire lesson perfectly. Understand the preference. Model the options. Build the right plan. Create a better future. That is the essence of client-centered compensation planning. The advisor is not there to force a particular strategy. The advisor is there to educate, analyze, compare, and guide. Ultimately, the most successful compensation strategy is not the one that looks best on paper. It is the one that aligns with the client's goals and preferences and can be followed confidently over time. The key takeaway from this slide is simple. Understand the client first. Explore multiple options. Explain the trade-offs. And build a compensation strategy that reflects how the client wants to achieve retirement success. Because when the strategy fits the client, the likelihood of long-term success increases dramatically.